LinkedIn Live during time. We're here on LinkedIn Live every day. I make it easy. No one has to think too much about when it is or what day of the week it is. With that, chat is open, and I encourage everybody to take advantage of chat because we're here for you. And what you want us to share or focus on makes it easier for us. And our goal is to get some gratification to see so many people getting so many takeaways. And I would advocate networking with the people who show up here, start building. And today's topic is self-esteem, and I know that's so important to everybody. And with that, I'll turn it over to Lachelle. And I was so impressed. We had met this week, spent quite a bit of time on the phone, and I believe that when you get to meet Lachelle and what her story is, you're going to leave this show much better than you came here. So with that, Lachelle, take it away.
Well, Donald, I just want to say thank you so much for having me today. I am so inspired by what you're doing in raising the vibration here on LinkedIn and your consistency. I just love it. You're the type of person I need to be around. Okay. So I'm glad to be here. But I am also known as America's Supermom. My husband and I have 15 children, and my passion is crushing chaos in the lives of other people. So I have had my own journey, which I'm sure we may be able to get into later. But I transform chaos into clarity and confidence with a smile. And I'm happy to be here today.
Well, wow, and I can't wait to hear more of your story. And, what this is all about is the hour of empower and allowing people, and I think that's what a great match self esteem is, to starting with themselves,
Yes.
right? Being the best they can be for them first.
Hmm.
And then there'll be a better model to duplicate through others. So, with that, Christy's a regular, a great supporter of the show, and brings so much value and experience and generosity. So, Christy, how
Well,
you
good
been doing?
morning. I'm doing good. Good morning, good afternoon, happy hour, happy Good Friday, good evening, good night, everybody around the world. I'm so excited to hear about Lachelle's story. I mean, come on, a mom of 15. God bless you. Um, those that don't know me, I share my story, my journey. I dance with my skeletons. I'm a confidence coach, and I'm here to help job seekers with job strategies, their resumes, and their LinkedIn. I'm all about paying it forward. And, God told me to start doing this, and I'm loving it. I finally listened to him. Finally.
Well, that's so good. And I'll kind of move my spot back to Lachelle. And why don't you tell more about what really changed for you and what allowed you to be everything you are today?
Love that. I was over here writing down dance with skeletons. I'm a note taker. Okay. Nothing like real time learning. But, um, I love what you said about, taking the time to work on you and then you can give to others, because in my story, just every day I still have 10 kids at home. And so my understanding was that, oh, I can give to them, I could give to my husband, I can give in the community, and somehow that's going to give me what I need. And so that was really what my journey was about, was this downward spiral, trying to be all things to all people, seeking validation from others instead of really doing it for myself. And so it was after my third hospitalization that I had this aha, after this 13-year journey of depression, that I was the common denominator. I couldn't blame other people. I had to decide what kind of life I wanted and then start taking the steps to get it. And um, I'm passionate about that conversation because for me, depression looked different. I thought it was somebody who stays in the bed, doesn't do anything. So the fact that I'm taking my kids to soccer, I'm going on field trips, and my husband's a pastor and he was an officer in the military doing all these things. it wasn't even on my radar that I was depressed. You know, it wasn't on my radar that I was people pleasing and doing all these things. So taking that time to reflect and work on you is so powerful to be able to help other people learn. And for me, in my case, be a better example for my children.
Well, that is so empowering and impressive. And, it just shows sometimes the climb is long and not easy. But if you start one foot after another and you start building yourself first, like we were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
you start making progress, and all of a sudden you're turning the direction. Right now, you're turning a headwind into a tailwind. Let me just acknowledge all these great people. Dean's here. Dean's a regular. I love Dean. Brings so much honesty and support, and it really works, right? What comes around goes around. Night here, well, to Christy's point, everybody is in a different place at a different point, but the message is all clear and acceptable for so many people, because we're really promoting optimism, confidence, words like today, self-esteem. Kim and myself had a great conversation last week, and she's going to be on with Kelly on I believe the 20th. Happy Friday, everyone. And Kim has an incredible story, and actually both you ladies are in Atlanta. So,
yeah, she reached out to me yesterday. She told me that she spoke with you. So
yeah, I said,
I'm
hey,
excited to get to meet her.
Both in town, and your stories are so similar in so many ways. It makes so much sense to see someone. That's even the gravy. Looking forward to a great show with Don, Christy, Lachelle, and attendees.
Mm-hmm.
Omar is here, and Omar is actually now going to be doing a show with Rita Wirtz that you haven't met yet. I mean, you might know Omar or Rita or both.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, America, so nice to meet you the other day. Plus, hi, Christy and Don. It's nice to be building by adding and joining circles, right?
Yeah. Now Omar, he's the one that does the Zoom
Omar?
Zoom parties or
Yes.
something. Yeah, I did meet him the other
Yes.
day. He does like a Jeopardy on Zoom. So yeah.
Yeah. Very
I
interesting.
didn't get the answer right, but glad to learn.
raising the vibration for sure. Christy Feedy says, love it. 15 children, holy cannoli. Kelly's here. Kelly's one of the pillars to this show. You had me at 15. Wow, God bless you. Judith, who I haven't seen in a little bit. America's Superman sounds amazing. That's a way to roll. My warmest greetings from sunny Finland. Tundi, who's a great guy. Happy Easter, all the discussants and the audience. Greetings from Nigeria to everyone. I'm always inspired listening to my great influencer, Donald Cohn, for his regular link on LinkedIn. Well, it's so great to have you, because this message has a passport to everywhere and everybody. It's not limited by boundary. It's not limited by culture, because everybody wants to hear how to be kinder, and everybody wants to be treated that way for sure, and be respected. In this day of too much overwhelming of too much, coming into a safe place with people who really care about you, support you, and do it by what they do, not by just what they're saying. Fabian's here, tuning in from London. Great show as usual. Fabian's a great guy. I met him a couple years ago, and we've been interacting, and a lot of the old becomes new again. Got a gentleman, Samuel Borelli, who I've been working with for a couple of years, and he's out in Lisbon and Italy, and he'll be coming on. Paul, who's the oldest 26-year-old person I ever met.
So true.
Hello, Supermom, Don and Christy. Happy Friday. I'm so glad this community gets to meet Lachelle. And I think that's how I got to meet Lachelle, is through Paul.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for Paul, Lachelle wouldn't be here. Yay, Kim, I can't wait. Nothing like happiness being spread. Lillian's here. Lillian's a great lady, and so happy to have you. Charles is here from Hong Kong almost every night. It's 11 p.m., so I got to give you credit. Greetings from Hong Kong. Kim, thank you for the kind mention, Don, Lachelle. So happy to connect with you both yesterday. That's how fast things can move.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday from Jitendra, who's been an everyday person lately. Dennis, agree, use a headwind to a whirlwind, and happy Easter, no yoke intended. Well, we covered that. Christy, what's your thoughts on all these different comments and thoughts that Michelle brought up?
Well, I'm actually seeing some new people, but I've been sort of AWOL for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I went ghost hunting in Savannah. I had never been to Savannah before. So, but the whole thing about the self-esteem, we have talked about it. Your story, boy, we could all sit around and talk about life and depression. I mean, I've shared my story since it started at 8 years old and until about I was 40. And you know, Charles and I have been connected because I went through the Landmark Forum education, and that sort of was an opening for me to finally realize I was kept on looking outside of myself. I mean, I moved every 2 to 4 years. I would pick up a city and just move with no job, nothing, and I would just move. I mean, I was fortunate that I was able to do that because I was single. But when I met my husband at 42, I was still trying to figure out who I was and try to see my worth. And it took me till I was 59 to finally get married. But, you know, where I'm at now is with, helping people with confidence of understanding it's all inside you. Unfortunately, society has trained us to, back in our day, old school, not appreciate yourself, not to be selfless, because, oh, that's selfish. You're thinking only about yourself, blah, blah, blah. But no, we have to be selfless and have our own self-esteem so we can grow and we can shine. I mean, Kelly's big on about the word shine. So, I continue to love, the people that are, pop on and all over the world. I mean, after this, I've got a call from somebody I connected with. She's over in England. A lot of people are now over on Twitter because LinkedIn's banning people. But I'm all about, let's share our journey. Let's talk about, now we're allowed to talk about depression. You never talked about that before. Men and women, especially the men, they couldn't talk about depression. Let's talk about our mental health because that's what stopped us from working with our self-esteem. That's been like the blanket, like, well, I can't think about myself, so I'm just going to go dialing down into that depression. What do you think, Don?
Yeah, I think that, when you look at self-esteem, it's really about, in the past, it was how you looked. Now it's really how do you feel, right? Because growing up, everybody, and even today, people put the best face on things that don't deserve that kind of face. And they actually confuse everybody around them, right? Because this is what you're projecting, so people are going to respond to that. And if it's the opposite of what you're feeling, you're going to get more disconnected and stressed out. And at the end of the day, people need people to talk to, no matter who they are, right? Even a stranger, if you're sitting on a bus or whatever, it's easier to say hello and the ride will go faster. And your thoughts will start to focus on the other person away from you. And some people are just too much, so deep into themselves, they hear the same loop that will never end because they're not opening a window to get some fresh air, get some new opinions. And that's what I love about this forum is you can sneak in, sit at the back near the door, and no one will see if you don't want them to. But once you start feeling safe, you start gravitating because everybody needs more than they ever needed before and have less access than ever before. And it's getting so impersonalized, right? That unless you know yourself as a person, you're not going to find it out through others anyways.
Right.
Right? They're going to tell you what they want you to know or what they think you should know, or more likely what they know. And they want to keep you close to them. So a lot about self-esteem, I think, is growth, and the reason why people separate is they grow differently and, no matter where they started, and that's the way it should be. And with constant change, dynamic change, it's more partners faster than ever before. People are seeing in a millisecond, if that. So
Yeah.
the key is you got to be good to yourself because you're with yourself.
So true. And I agree with that because I think, so often we limit ourselves to thinking that everybody has to be somewhat of a version of ourselves. And I just go back and think, I was a high performer all through my academic career. And I didn't see the people that weren't striving for what I was striving for. You're just so focused on what it is that you want to achieve. And it wasn't until my own journey through depression that caused me to see through the lens of other people, seeing what it's like to be a mom and not feeling like you're enough, or a spouse who feels like your only value is being at home with the kids or something. And so when you really begin to take stock about what you have going on, you can start to see life through the lens of other people, which also helps you grow. I look at all my kids and they're all different, so if I didn't have a way to understand different things, I wouldn't even be able to connect with them because they each have different likes and dislikes and different goals and aspirations. And so staying relevant and being conscious of growing, I think, is really important with your image, and knowing that you don't have to be excellent in all areas. That's one of the things that has really helped me be a better connector and collaborator, is being willing to admit, hey, you know what? I don't know anything about technology. Let me connect you with somebody who does, or, computer technology systems or some other, thing that is just not my zone of genius. And as a result, it's helped me to grow and meet different people who don't really feel like it is a competition. There's more things that we can accomplish because we're able to stay in our own lane.
Makes sense, Christy?
I don't believe in the word competition. Yeah, sports, but
Yeah.
I didn't say sports. When it comes to business, we're collaborators. There's a ton of people who do research, resume writing and LinkedIn profiles and coaching and everything like that. I learned from them. I learned from them. I collaborate. But they're not my competition because
Mhm.
I bring something to the table that they might not realize that might need to be in that mix. So you collaborate with people and you network. I mean, I'm a huge, huge, huge networker, which has helped because I've lived all over the country. And I've had to meet new people constantly and learn from people. But when it comes to the self-esteem, it goes back to, our each of our journey is given to us. Whatever your faith is, whatever it is. The good, the bad, and the truly poopy. I'll use the other word, but we also are here to be able to help others, to be able to help others understand what's inside them, to understand that once they feel that, just honestly, to believe in themselves. I mean, I remember the first time it was 40, that I was in a room by myself. Somebody had asked me to model. I'm like, okay, I don't see what you're seeing. And I remember seeing the photos by myself. And all my life, I never felt that I was pretty. I never felt that I was worthy. I was always looking outside for the happiness. And I remember sitting there and going, wow, I am actually pretty. And that was the first step for me to understand who I was. And it's not about the physical part, but I finally started digging inside myself, that my family, people, they saw who I was that I couldn't see. I remember when I lived in Chicago, I dated a guy and he's like, Christy, your eyes, you're, you're just so sad. Everything about you, you're friendly and everything, but you're just so sad. And it's like you were saying, Michelle, nobody understands when you're through depression because we figured we can't function. I functioned fine, but my eyes, you could tell. It's sort of like when my dog's upset, my dog, her eyes will show that she's not feeling good, but then she's got a great smile when she's happy. We have to be, to look at people and understand, and especially when it comes to depression, a lot of people don't even realize where they're at because they're not sure. They've never been there. And for so many years, it was something that you can't talk about. You can't. I mean, your husband, thank you for his service. They're not allowed to talk about it, especially back
Yeah.
in the Vietnam War and everything. But now,
Mhm.
people are trying to open up, and it's still something that, when you hit depression, you lose that buildup of the self-esteem, because our self-esteem is what we believe in,
Mhm.
and having that confidence and
I
not
love
faking it, not having that mask. And we're so
Yeah.
used to having a mask to be who we're supposed to be for society, to make society like us, be happy with us. And it doesn't matter. We have to be happy with ourselves.
So true. And I love what you said about he saw it in your eyes, because even nowadays, we're not present enough to really even see what other people are thinking and feeling.
Mhm.
We're so caught up on our phones, or how many other metrics that we're meeting that other people are giving us on social media and things of that nature. And you could be performing in those areas, but still not having what you desire. I had a guest on our show. It was a gentleman, and we were talking about mental health, and he was saying, that he accomplished a lot of empty victories. He got the things that he aspired to have, but he didn't feel good, as a
Yep.
result. It didn't give him that joy that he thought. And so I love what you're saying, because, we can hide all the time. And that was my story. I hid behind so many masks, and that was the title that I put in my book, How to Live Mask Free, because I had a mask for every different
I love
occasion.
that.
I was not myself. I did not know who I was. I was used to having masks on. And so it was my own rock bottom experience that I had to really go back to what is it that I'm about? What do I like? What is my view of being a mom, my view of being in business, all these different things. So I totally resonate with what you were saying.
Yeah, and I think that's the key to self-esteem is understanding that the more stuff you got, the more stuff got you, right? And if you're going to be focused on stuff, you're going to be unfocused on what's inside of you because you're focused on what's outside of you. And what's outside of that is everybody's opinion of what the outside of you is.
Mhm.
The hardest thing about people losing a job is, that's bad enough. But when you got to give up memberships, when you got to take kids out of schools, when you got to downsize, and that shouldn't be an issue. Instead of people being grateful for what they got and maybe can't have right now, they look at what they used to have and now they're a loser, right? And every ending is a new beginning. And if you're as good as you think you are, having another opportunity to reinvent yourself fresh without legacy, without dragging the past forward. And the beauty of LinkedIn is it's a brand new country with new culture, new people. Nobody knows you. You could bring your best model of today to the table, right? Not what other people have defined for you, not what experiences have molded you into. You step in a new country, no one, you can do whatever you want, and you can do things that no one ever gave you that opportunity for, but now you can give it to yourself. Too many people depend on too many people
Mhm.
just because that's the way it used to work.
Mm.
Now with networking, with broadcasting, I mean, you could have 16 different people to serve 16 different parts of your life, right? Instead of one person. And in the past, there was always that one person, two people,
Mhm.
parents, spouses, kids, would make all the difference in the world, as opposed to being able to have enough connections that no one, can hurt you that bad because they're not 100% of what you depend on. So, Lachelle, there is a question I see, and we'll address some of these.
Okay.
Uh, we got so many. Poonam's here. I'll start with Poonam. Hi, everyone, friends. Kelly says, our only competition is ourselves. So
Amen.
true. Tundi, okay, thank you for always showcasing speakers on topical issues on LinkedIn. And, it's so cool because people share this and we're on a social network and everybody has connections. And all of a sudden, people are bringing friends and they're staying and bringing more friends, right? And that's beautiful. Dennis, well, agree is not what you know, but who you know. Don't say no, but stay in the know, helping and learning from others.
Love it.
I think the only hope is peer to peer, one with one, sharing, caring. Lachelle, I'm curious, that was a question. Being mom of 15 kids, what's been the greatest life lesson you've learned?
Oh, I love this question. I don't know anything at all. Okay. I think the moment that you think that you know it all, that's a problem. I'm always learning and I am excited to learn, because when I grew up as a high achiever, the accolades came from knowing everything, really being confident in what you know and how you stand out and what awards you've gotten and all these different things that they become irrelevant like the day you get them. It's kind of like buying a car off of the car lot. The moment you drive away, it's not worth what you paid for it. And realizing that you do not know a lot of things. And so that's one of the reasons why I love to be connected with great people, because I've learned that life is not linear. It has so many dips and turns and twists, and everyone has some information from a different vantage point. So the moment that you think that you know it all, that's a recipe for disaster, because you can always use the perspective and insight from somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. And, most people just need to slow down, catch
Hmm.
up with themselves, because most people get ahead of themselves because they want to take care of tomorrow today, right?
Hmm.
They want to deal with the past that can't be dealt with today. And,
Hmm.
when you combine yesterday and tomorrow and today, there's not much left of today.
Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden you're thinking about things that you have no control over while you're in a situation that you have total control over. And, now no one really has an excuse that there's no one I can talk to, right? Having a show
Right.
like this every day, reaching out to anybody here sincerely with respect will get you a phone call with that person and their desire to sincerely try to be a benefit to you. So now,
Mhm.
I think everything, especially self-esteem, comes down to two real important words, which is taking responsibility and
Mhm.
being accountable. Once you
Yeah.
say it's on me,
Mhm.
then that whole investigation ends,
Yeah.
right? Then it's not a mystery, or it's not like, well, who was more responsible? Who really hurt more than the other person? And that gets into majoring in the minors,
Right.
right? Instead of saying, hey, I ain't got time for this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I can't do anything with it. Let me do something I can do something with. So at the end of the day, I can show what I got. Because if you were
Mhm.
working for somebody every day, they would pretty much say, what happened
Yeah.
today? Right? What'd you do?
Yeah.
Who'd you do it with? What is the benefit? But if you don't have that accountability and give yourself a pass every day, and now
Mhm.
Dad, you give yourself a pass, blaming it on somebody you have no control over. How can you get a lot of self-esteem? Because in
Mhm.
actuality, you just lost yourself to something, somewhere, someone else, and you may not get found. Christy?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. I've got three because we're going all over the place as usual. That's what you're, and that's, me. I juggle. That's where people live in the victim mode. Um,
Mhm.
and we've all sort of been there, especially when we've had depression. But
Mhm.
going back to when we're born, we don't have a blueprint of how to be a person, how to be a
Mhm.
parent, how to be a
Mhm.
sibling, how to be a wife. There's no blueprint. You can read all the books you want, all the self-help people can tell you, but we have to figure it out on our own through all our experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you connect with people, like a show like this that Don keeps on doing every day, that you can at least know that you're not by yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and that you can learn, from somebody else's experience. I'm from somebody who left college with a 0.01. However, I'm not the smartest person, but I have had a lot of experiences that I don't want other people to have to go through. And to share those experiences have been my schooling. And so then I learned from other people to realize, hey, we have similar experiences. And you know something? I did pretty good, as well as you. We got through it. We grew. We found out who we are. We grew within ourselves. And, I use that term, we became the phoenix, because every time you burn down to the dark, you have that choice with that self-esteem that's inside you to
Mm-hmm.
fly and to become that phoenix. And we're going to continue. The phoenix burns and it grows and it burns and it grows. Life is ebb and flow. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
have the good, the bad, and the truly poopy. But I look at where I am now at 61, and I look at where I was, and I'm the happiest I've ever been because of everything that I went through the depression, everything, the thoughts of suicide, just everything. I'm in a place now. It's like, oh my gosh, I truly love who I am. And that's not being selfish. That's being selfless, because I've got that self-esteem in myself. I don't care what society says to me or what society wants to tell me, or somebody tells me, oh, you shouldn't wear that. Really? Okay, well, I'm comfortable. I look good. How's that affecting your life? So when we get through that understanding, to live our life to our fullest, because it's our life.
Mm-hmm.
We were born into this. We get to create us. And that's a masterpiece right at itself. And I'm sure I just probably pivoted somewhere else, or you know how I am, Don.
That's what it's all about, is letting your voice speak for yourself, and your heart be the foundation versus your brain, because most people overthink too much. Ultimately,
Get out of that head.
everybody on this show is going to time out. It's guaranteed. No one gets out of here alive. The question is when, and then the question should be back to you is, what am I going to do with my time, and is this what I got time for, right? And if it's sitting in a corner going over things that you can't change anymore, taking embarrassment and shame. And here's, I think, one of the keys. Instead of learning how to deal with bad people, just associate with good people. Right? And then you don't have to deal with someone who's picking on you, throwing stuff at you, and like I say, they never built a statue for a critic yet, and I think if people realize, if the people that love them the most are happy with them, they should take that judgment and say, you're right. And that's done, right? If you go to court and they say not guilty, you don't go back and say, are you sure? You don't go back and say, let's do another one of these. You're like glad to be free, and whatever people say, it's just what they're saying. Right. And who are they and what did they become? Because I know growing up, I had a lot of uncles and older people. And when you're young, you think they're bigger, they're older, they must know something. And after a while, I said to myself, whatever happened to this guy with his advice? What did that make him? And that advice is going to make me like him if I take it. Right. And, it's your choice. You could say, thank you very much, but it don't mean nothing to me. And I ain't going to spend time with it. When you look out for yourself, people start looking out for you.
Yeah.
When you draw that line in the sand and say, no, I don't go there, and I'm not going to do that, and I'm moving on. And if you can't move on when you say you're moving on, you ain't ever going to move on.
So true. I love what you said about associating with good people because I think, one book that I've read that really was impactful for me was The Four Agreements. And, really understanding that we have a choice. We don't have to agree with things is huge. And oftentimes we just get caught up in this cycle of thinking that this is the way it is. It was like this for my mom. It was like this for my grandmother. It was like this for my best friend. So there isn't anything else. And so when you find out that there is, and that you can attract what you want to you, it's a game changer. But it does take work. It's like every garden. The garden just doesn't grow without you watering it, without you pulling the weeds, okay, because the weeds are going to come. So it's up to us to be proactive about what it is that we want to see in our lives, and creating spaces such as these for that very thing.
Yeah, I think that's so, important. And, the thing is, everything that everybody's talking about today not only sounds good, but it really works and it is good.
Hmm.
And you can get something that works better and be good around good people. I mean, it's like the audience you're playing to,
Hmm.
right? If no one's laughing at your jokes, there's two things. Either they're not funny or they're not directed towards the audience, right? Until you
Right.
go to some other audience and share it. But what really happens, everybody I talk to have gotten really successful on LinkedIn. They start with themselves, and then the
Mhm.
audience starts molding it for them if you let them, right? It's
Yeah.
like here's what I got. What do you think? They send it back to you. Okay, we'll add that to it. And if you make it organic, if you make it collective, because so many people talk and don't do.
Yeah.
So many people tell and don't show,
Hmm.
right? And if you start out showing and not telling, first of all, you'll get there faster. You won't have to make people wonder,
Hmm.
because once you say, here it is, here's the goods, it's there. Now what? Right? And
Hmm.
it really puts the responsibility back on the person who says, now I gave you everything you asked for.
Yeah.
What are you going to do in return? And it don't have to be back to you. It could be saying, hey, I'm going to take that, I'm going to build even stronger with it. Thanks for the tools, or
Hmm.
thanks for the advice. And you say, well, that's payment for now, you
Hmm.
know? And if they can get strong enough, powerful enough, whether they give it back to you, they're going to give it back to somebody,
Yeah.
right? To hire
Say no
somebody,
more.
share something with
Hmm.
somebody. Because when your cup overflows, someone's actually helping you catch it from hitting the ground and no one getting it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And after a
Hmm.
while, if you had enough of it, even the first time, give it to that person. They never had it.
Hmm.
I knew what my first time was, and I know that it's cool watching somebody have their first banana split or whatever it is. And what's also so funny? People focus so much on giving so much when all they had to do is give a little to a lot more people.
Now that's a good thing. That's a mic drop.
Because it's always so
That
followed that
is
up.
a mic drop. Okay. I hope they're taking notes on that. That is really good. Seriously. Yeah. I mean, and I know that every day as a mom, I still have 10 kids at home. So, yeah, we get all caught up in the big, the grandiose, but it's like what you're doing. It is consistency. If you are doing grand things every day, you're overwhelming yourself, you're stressed out, and
Yep.
you're not able to do it consistently. But if you do a
Yep.
little bit every day, you're going to run past so many people. There is no competition on that road, none at all, because you're doing what's simple. I love what you said earlier about majoring in minors, because I love Jim Rohn, and the stuff he says is just like, man, that is just gold. But he says the things that help you grow are simple. But one thing with simple is it's simple to do, but it's simple not to do also.
Hmm.
So if you're around the right people that will continue to encourage you, to hold you accountable to those simple things, you're going to continue to grow.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, and I got to meet Jim Rohn and actually get around
Mm.
him in the I'd say late '80s, early '90s,
Mm-hmm.
and what I found, and he went bankrupt a couple of times. I mean,
Mhm.
he made $1 million at 30, lost it again right after that. But it's only through great loss and defeat that you really appreciate victory when it comes,
Mhm.
especially when you didn't think it could come, when you
Yep.
thought your ship had already sailed, and all of a sudden you find out it's all up to you and where you're at. Christy, what's your thoughts on all these wonderful comments and our discussion of self-esteem?
I have a cardinal out here. Isn't that a good luck sign? A cardinal.
I guess.
The-
Today it is. Hey, today it is.
I have a beautiful cardinal right there, and I'm thinking, I think that's a sign. No, you know me. I love this. I love the Four Agreements. I like the book, the Invitation, because that's allowing you to have an invitation to be you, to grow with you. There are some very wise people, and as you said, Jim Rohn, he went bankrupt, but he grew from that. We grow from our times that we drop into that dark hole. When we have experiences that most people will be like, oh, well, we're not going to talk to you. Your depression. I've known a lot of people that have always been there for other people, but when they're in a bad place, everybody disappears. And that's when you find who you are. And what I've seen with myself and helped other people to realize that this is your place to grow within yourself and understand that you don't need anybody. I mean, we all need somebody. We all need our tribe. We all need our loved ones, but understand that you have to lean on yourself. You have to grow with you, be your own strength, and understand that going back to the Four Agreements, practice that. I mean, I don't know if you all remember the poem that Charlie Chaplin wrote about himself. I don't have it in front of me, but look up the Charlie Chaplin. It's a poem. When he battled depression and when he finally realized who he was, it's like, okay, this is who I am. And it tends to realize, I'm starting to see that more and more the older people are getting, and that's, my tribe is older, because I used to be where I needed the quality over the quantity because I was looking outside of myself. Now I have my husband, I have my friends that don't live here, but you learn that you have the control of when you need to go down to that dark place. And sometimes you do need to go down there because you're giving so much. And that's not a good thing. I'm battling. But when we give so much to other people constantly, we have to remember not to give them the whole cup of tea, because we have to keep some with ourselves. I had a business coach that once said to me, Christy, you give your cup of tea to everybody, the saucer, the cup, and everything. And that is why you're drained. You have to remember to fuel yourself.
I love
and that's why on airplanes, when they drop the mask, they say put it on yourself first before you start helping others.
Absolutely.
And I think, semantics is so important, because when we're talking about weakness, there's weakness in situation that people can find themselves in, but doesn't have to be weakness in character or who they are. And to be honest, character weakness is not attractive. It's not somebody you want to go out as, because people don't respect weak people, right? They respect people in trouble who are strong people or who want to rise above it. And there's a saying, I've been broke, but I never been broken, and I think people realize it's a temporary situation, and if you look at it, you come into the world with nothing, the worst you can possibly do is break even, right? Everything else has been given to you, and no one gets out of here and can take anything with them. So you like that one, huh?
I mean, that was good.
Say it, go ahead, Christy.
I just want to interject because the book that I was talking about, I just asked ChatGPT to give me a quick snippet of it because it's a great book. I read it when I was in a really bad place, and I've read it when I'm in a really good place. But it's called The Invitation, and it's a dreamer that explores the power of vulnerability and courage that it takes to live an authentic life. And it goes with the 4 Agreements type of book.
Mm-hmm.
So it balances that. But if you have not read that book, I mean, it's brought me so much wisdom. But ChatGPT gave me a better way of saying it.
Always technology somewhere. Want to recognize Ice, who's here. She gave me permission to use that as her nickname. But learning is a choice. Learning helps us to achieve our better selves. One has to opt. Dennis says, agree, we need to learn from others' mistakes because we won't live long enough to make them all by ourselves.
That's good.
True. Kelly, as we are beautifully broken, what a blessing. Lillian, that's good, Don, to be with good people. It's absolutely good. Well, if someone says, here's good produce, bad produce, right? If here's a good car, here's a bad car. I mean, people's always going to win out or should win out over bad. And
that's true.
You're looking for the goodness in people. So you relate to them and be with them. Once you find good people, you want to do everything you can to make them want to keep including you, keep more to the table, and that ups everybody's game when you can ratchet up. If you're running against a faster person, they're going to make you run faster. And if you're running against a slower person, it's going to make you run slower. And it's just a matter of where your mind is. I'm so happy to see Raquel here. She was on our show. She's got an open invitation to come back. Great lady, and somebody I would definitely reach out, connect to. It'll be an honor for you, and you'll see so much value. And that's what's nice about this show. Everybody's almost pre-qualified with the people that are supporting and promoting them, and that third-party validation goes a long way, because when Paul says, "Here's a person," within 20 minutes, I got an invitation for a Zoom call without even looking at their profile, because I want to respect Paul's thoughts and judgments, and I know he's doing it with the right intent.
Yeah.
And if people would just ask themselves, or that person who they think hurt them, what was your intention here? Because we talk about this a lot. When someone says something to you, there is no question of what just got said. Right? So the question is that, and most people will take it and walk away with it instead of saying, hey, I don't understand what you intended this to do when you said it. And how did you think I was going to respond to this? Because I wanted to figure out what's going on. This ain't right. Right? I mean, and once you say that, everything changes, because now the accountability and responsibility shifts back.
Right? And I love what you said about not looking at their profile, because I'm the same way. I don't have time to go through and, I mean, labels are good. I think it's important for you to speak about what it is you do, on your profiles and things like that. But I meet a lot of people because I use the energy from the people that connect me. It's like continuing the conversation. I might not have been in the room with you and Paul, but there's something about while you were in that room that I want to be connected to, which is why I came to mind. And so I think that's important. People need to do more introductions. I think they don't realize the power of that, because, that's a priority for me. When people are in my inbox, connecting me with people, giving me posts and things that they believe that I value or that I can add to it in some way, then that's a priority for me. It's not about going through some checklist. And, don't get me wrong, for some people that works for them. But I love that you said that, because there's so many people that I would not be connected to if I was thinking about reading their profile. So
see, that's where I'm different, because I'm different.
Yeah.
But because I don't work my LinkedIn. For me, it's like I want to know where they're from, because I might know somebody that, because I've lived all over the place. I would like to know what they've done. Who are they? LinkedIn. Some people do it for just their resume. Some people do it as their brand. for me, I'm big. When I talk to people, I'm always connecting people. I do introductions via emails. I give people names. When I do my consultations, because I read their profile, I see what they've done. I see where they're living. They're looking for a job. I automatically start getting into my head going, who do I know that they need to know? How can I help them?
Mhm.
So that's where for me, people put their time, and I help people enter their profile to show who they are, what's they're about.
Mhm.
I and Charles and I were having this conversation yesterday about this because it's different. It's different in different locations, but your profile is your brand. You are marketing you, not a
Mhm.
company. I have jobs all the way back into my 20s,
Mhm.
because it shows my diversity. However, for me, for the about, and this is the training that I've gotten from companies and everything, that about is about you. I want to see your personality.
Mhm.
So, Lachelle, you showed the personality. You showed
Mhm.
about talking about. So I would have never known that you were a mom of 15 people if I had never gone over to your profile and read it.
Mhm.
Because now it's like, oh, I want to know more about this person.
Mhm.
So that's how I look at it. I use the profile is your marketing of you because you are a product on
That's
this
good
business
stuff.
platform. But we all have different thought processes now. So when I have DMs, I have to go over and find out who these people are. I'm connected to over a lot of people. I can't remember what I wore yesterday. I'm not going to remember who this person is. I have to go and look at their profile to remind myself, oh yeah, that's right. I now I remember who this person was.
Mhm.
Well, I think everything is context and
Yeah.
perspective. And, I look at the whole package, but I also know unless I have a conversation, I'm just guessing, right?
Yeah.
Because, until you know who somebody is right now,
Mhm.
where somebody is right now, and where they want to go in the future, do you know if it's a possible fit? Because the idea is getting alignment, right? Not
Mhm.
helping anybody. Because if you're not helping someone you can really help or wants your help or identifies with you or vice versa, it's just a pass. The faster we get them on their way and the faster you get to where you want to go, the better everybody's going to be. And I really do think that, LinkedIn has with 900 million people, there's somebody for everybody.
Mhm.
Even bad people got bad people groups they can join. So there's places for everybody. You don't have to be in the wrong place. Try to fit in. And just like we talked about it yesterday, and me and Kim had a good conversation, and her takeaway was, if you bought some clothes and it didn't fit, the first thing on your mind is taking it back and get from the
Mhm.
or get your money back. But when
Yeah.
you have people in your life that don't fit, right? Sometimes you stay uncomfortable with a bad fit
Yeah.
because you don't want to take it back. Because here's the thing: when you take something back to a clothing store, you're good. They got enough clothes to replace it with.
Yeah.
Right.
People want to give back a relationship. They don't understand it still took a car ride to get to the store. Right? They had
Mhm.
to carry the product with them and go through the return process.
Mhm.
And the more people make change, especially when it comes to people. And I
Mhm.
think that one of the biggest maybe takeaways is when you're provided wonderful opportunities not to take action on it. What else could you ask for? So there should be more sharing of content. There should be more uh, commenting, more resharing, more liking, more phone calls. I mean, like I say, if you're working any job, you'd at least put 8 hours a day in. And I mean, that would be real work. It wouldn't be, I'm going to check on my comments today. And, it would be proactive outreach, initiating. But
Mhm.
this is so much easier because if one can look at inbound as the foundation for outbound, you want to respond to people who already took action towards you, already invested time in you, to look at your profile, to write a comment. And
Mhm.
gratitude is great as an attitude. but it's even better in action. And I always start out, thank you. Whenever I'm responding to somebody, it's thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Checking out my profile. I really appreciate it. And if there's something I can do in the future to help you, let me know. And that's so simple. And it's a template, actually. If you just want to copy and paste it 20 times, no one's going to see anybody else's response, and no one's going to really care. And
Mm-hmm.
meanwhile, if you're doing nothing, you're passing up a chance to do something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Christy, you were ready to
Well,
say?
it goes with that saying, people come in your life for a reason, season, and a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And I have learned that I call relationships, it's like a dresser drawer. Sometimes they're at the very top. Sometimes you move them down. Sometimes you put them underneath the bed. Sometimes you just throw it out because people come and go in your life, but they come into your life to give you a lesson, an experience for you to grow. And sometimes when you throw those people out, they sometimes come back and they end up being a better person because you threw them out.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody reads you better than you read yourself,
Oh, absolutely.
right? And when they see someone who's confident, strong, they start to question themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's why just stopping something and making people aware of where we are before we get somewhere else gives everybody a chance to rethink, maybe apologize,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really mean it. I'm sorry it came across that way, and now everything gets better.
Mm-hmm.
Versus you carry doubt with you. You don't want to go anywhere and have unfinished business,
Mm-hmm.
because when you leave, all that unfinished business stays with you instead of where it came from, and it ain't going to leave you until you resolve it somehow. So you got to be careful what you pick up and what you leave behind,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
right? And who you pick up and who you leave behind. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it isn't win-win.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just enough for one person to win and not two people to lose by being together. And whether that's in a relationship, whether it's in a
Mm-hmm.
business, whether it's in a community, doesn't matter, because you're only going to be proud of yourself when you're authentic to yourself.
So true.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know, go
And
ahead.
I love the fact that it is work. I think a lot of people think that it's just smooth sailing, really having that inner work that you do. But, looking at yourself in the mirror is the one thing that you can change about anything that you see as a problem for yourself, and whatever you put out is really what you attract. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you have that time to do that inner work, that you have that time to check in with yourself, that if you just simply look at your day, what was your goal for the day? And did you accomplish it? What was the one priority? Because you'll learn more about documenting what you're doing and not doing than anything else. And really understanding that, I'm over here focusing on what somebody else is doing, but I can't blame anybody for what my priority was for the day. You know,
Right.
I can't blame anybody for, how I showed up and what I said. So, I think it's important for us to really look at this is why, you look at a few months ago, it was Ben Franklin Day. One of the things that he was focused on is he had his list of to-dos, he had a morning routine, he did his had his list together. And it wasn't a lot that he would have every day, but at the end of the day, he would reflect. Was I successful? What did I do? Because that's the work. That's the consistent practice that we need to do every day, because then you're able to really be attracted to the right people. They're going to be using words that you're using. If I'm focusing on public speaking, then I'm naturally going to get excited when I get connected to people that have platforms for me to speak,
Right.
or other people, I'm going to know that's not for me right now. That's not what I'm working on. So I think, we really need to hold ourselves accountable, and stop looking for other people to do the work that we should be doing on ourselves.
I would love to say I could stay, but I have a meeting
No,
at
no, you're fine.
noon.
It's top of the
This has
hour,
been
and
fabulous, Michelle. I would love to have a chat with you more. I have a feeling that we're aligned on a lot of stuff. Don, have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Happy Easter to everybody. And thank you, everybody.
thank you, Christy. You always bring so much value. So have a wonderful day, and a happy Easter to you too.
Thank you.
And you know, to kind of, I know Charlie Chaplin's poem was brought up. It says, "As I begin to love myself, I found that anguish and emotional suffering are only warning signs that I was living against my own truth. Today, I know this is authenticity." Well, you know, I think what it really says is so many people don't know what they don't know.
Right.
Right. And if you don't know what is, you don't know what isn't. Right. And everything has its time, everything has its place. And if you allow it to find its time and place, you know, you're not forcing. And I think what's so important about what Michelle is saying is there's a process called plan, do, review. Right. And most people are so busy doing that they're not reflecting on what just happened, because now they're back to doing more, better, bigger, faster, instead of really saying, hey, what did I get out of today I want to keep for tomorrow? What didn't I get out of my investment today that I want to replace with a new investment? Because whatever you did yesterday, you can do tomorrow again. You're not burning bridges when you try new things. You're testing new things. And, you know, if you remember that failure is only feedback.
Right.
It isn't final. You know, your past doesn't have to define your future. People don't have to tell you who you are, change who you are. And once you're firm on that, you know, once you're defensive in a good way, protective, because, you know, there's a saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to know what you're going to stand for. You know, and there's so many people that talk, and when it comes time to it, don't do. You know, when there's people say there ain't enough money in the world to do that, and then when that much money shows up, they found out maybe they can do that.
Right.
And that's wrong. You know, and I think once people understand that if you can be happy with less, you can have a lot more happiness.
Yeah.
You know, but if the price of admission is so high that you hardly ever get there, and you hardly ever get back there, is that a destination journey you want to keep taking, when getting there is the only reason that you go there is to have the fun there? If it took you all day to get there and now you got to go to bed, nothing ever happened. You know, so I once had an experiment when I said to myself, well, how early this week in the day can you get as happy as you can? Right? Can you be that happy at 10 a.m. as you are after 6 p.m.? And what's going to make you happy? You know, is it going to be a treat? Is it going to be a walk? Is it going to be a phone call? Or who could make you the happiest? And reach out to, because, you know, there's people when you get on the phone with them or you meet them, I mean, the whole day changes.
Yeah.
You start laughing, you start telling stories. And, you know, what I love about this show is it brings back so much family that people remember in a fond way, but because they're not relevant to what they're doing today, they don't become part of the consciousness until someone says, hey, my grandpa just, I remember him doing this, and all of a sudden your grandpa starts showing up in your thoughts. And you think, what was the best memory I had? And, you know, just like a closet organizer, you take things out that don't fit and you bring things back that you always love wearing. I mean, how many people want to try and wear the wedding dress they were in 30, 40 years ago, right? And if they could, they would, or at least try it on. But you can try on experiences, thoughts. At the end of the day, no one can take away what was. It's in the books, it ain't going to change. And the second thing is you get to choose who occupies your mind.
Yeah.
Right. And the wisdom you get from some of the past, whether it's experience or people, can warm your heart again. You know, you bring them back, and all of a sudden the people who are occupying that spot go away. And then you find how you really get to change the channel and create a comedy or a romance out of your life instead of a mystery, a tragedy, or a horror show, right? And you know that's so key. So we could talk forever. I know we're a little bit over. I want to thank you for your first visit here, Lachelle. I
Thank you.
said you were as good as 3 guests put together.
I loved it. I love, I love quotes, and I love what you said earlier about until you have a conversation, you were just guessing. Because for a lot of people who are in a dark place, I mean, I can only share a little bit of my story. I would have a whole conversation of what I believe was truth and with myself without talking to the person in front of me. And I think that is a really good point that you brought up, because a lot of people create these stories about what someone's life is like, or how they are so far different from who they are. And it's not until you have a conversation that you learn what things you do have in common, which could help you continue to grow, because you can learn from each other's experiences. So I have so enjoyed this time. I have lots of notes that I've taken, believe it or not. And I'm looking forward to more collaborations in the future.
Well, you'll definitely be invited back because you know the value is so palatable, if
Mhm.
that's a word. You know, where everybody feels it, senses it, and because of that, it moves the needle somewhere. It could be an attitude. It could be today I'm taking action. It's
Mhm.
like now that I have this little perspective I never had,
Mhm.
this facet, I can apply it. And you
Mhm.
know, the thing is everybody has that belief that if they can do it, I can do it. If someone just shows me what it is they're doing,
Yeah.
you know, and that's where the competition needs to go away. Is hey, if someone comes to your house and said, "I need a cup of sugar," and you got plenty of it, it's a pleasure to help someone out. It doesn't matter if it's the sugar or not. It's like, hey, this person came in need. I
Mhm.
was able to support them, and now they're going to walk away telling everybody, you know, I ran out of sugar, went next door, got a cup, and the lady was so nice to me, and that spreads. You know, the answer to this world's problem is sitting in front of each of us. It's the person next to you. If the
Mhm.
person next to you can give you a positive impact and you can pass it forward, share it, communicate it. If things are good for you, they're good for people like you. And if you knew something that everybody you loved would benefit from, you'd be on the phone immediately
Mhm.
saying, "Hey, you got to get down here. They're giving these things away," or blah blah blah. And once you get into that mode, you're going to start feeling response,
Mhm.
which is going to encourage you to do more. If someone says, "Thank you very much, I checked it out, man, it made a huge difference," now you're motivated to say, "How many more?" And pretty soon you're not just going to loved ones and friends, you're going to anybody who is in your network,
Yeah.
right? Because
Mhm.
the resources and the value are inside of us, so they're unlimited. If you were just saying there's a pile of money over there, let's split it up, eventually the split would be done.
Yeah.
But it's internally, it just reinforces. So I'm so excited. I just love knowing that this message is helping so many people
Mhm.
at the time they need it, in the way they need to hear it. And now all of a sudden, they will start to become more powerful for
Mhm.
themselves, and people around them will love them even more because people who you don't know are around you who are rooting for you.
Yeah.
Right? And if one of your
Mhm.
family members came home and said, "Man, you won't believe it. I just got this award. I just got this job, and it's more than I ever thought." I mean, you'd be having a party,
Yeah.
right? You'd be saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is a celebration. We can't let
Mhm.
this go." And that's another
Mhm.
thing, and we'll close with that. People should celebrate themselves every day because there's something you do every day that's unique to you,
Yeah.
worthwhile to somebody else, and you can never applaud yourself too much while you're waiting for people maybe to applaud you down the road. At least you're in the applaud uh, practice mode. You know,
Yes.
flex your giving muscles. See how much you can give one day. Ask yourself, you know, if you go to people's profiles, you can leave a recommendation.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing wrong with saying, here's how I really feel about this person. I'm going to take 45 seconds and type it out and make it stick forever for them.
Yeah.
Why not? And that's a challenge people have to ask themselves is why not? Why aren't I doing more that I can, that I really feel I should? And I think the world changes immediately. So with that, we can talk and we will talk again. But I'm going to get everybody back to work or everybody's going to say, how come you're messing up when you're listening to this stuff and you should be doing stuff? So I'll leave with that wonderful laughter. Rest up in 23 hours. I'll tell you, we'll be back with tomorrow is Christy. No, today was Christy. Tomorrow is JD Gershbein and myself. He's a unique, wonderful individual. And then Sunday is me and Kelly. So with that said, thank you very much. I can't thank you enough. So with that, goodbye, and we'll talk again. Bye for now.